systematic knowledge sharing and is being presented to us with two speakers, one of whom, appropriate for KM, I think, is coming to us virtually via Zoom, and the other person who's here in person. So Thijs, colloquial, I tried hard, you know, is KM and Systems Information Researcher. And online, we have Fernando Fukunaga, who is the President and Executive Director of the Brazilian Knowledge Management Society. They will be speaking on this topic. We'll leave 5 minutes at the end of their presentation for questions. So without further delay, please join me in welcoming Thijs and Fernando. Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome everyone, and thanks for taking us also to join us our session in here. It is a pleasure to share with you all today my work, but also to represent in here our Brazilian companies in our Brazilian Knowledge Management Association Society as well. I have Fernando joining me in this session. He is the president of SBGC, as we call in Portuguese, the Knowledge Management Society. And we want to introduce ourselves, both our work, but also the companies, and to showcase you here Brazilian case studies as well. So I will present myself, and I will present Fernando, will present himself as well, but I just wanted to share with you a few agendas, what's our agenda for today. We are coming with a few introductions about our work and also about SBGC. I'm presenting you the systemic collaboration model, which is the model that I've been researching on my master's for the coming 3 years. And we have 3 Brazilian cases, so study cases to share with you also as a lessons learned. I've made a few connections, especially to bring to you in here for the KM World team. And we're closing with questions, as Juanita said, so thank you, Juanita, as well for your presentation. I will start just telling you a bit of the context on how we ended up here at the KM World. We have also the same KM World as KM Latam and KM Brazil in Brazil, as we're hosting the event as organizers as well. And I've been working with SBGC, our association, for the coming 4 years now. We are running a national research on both professionals of KM and, on the other hand, the organizations and their KM teams. And we are having every 2 years, so biannual assessments of those professionals in the company so that we can assess how is the maturity of KM in our country. All right? And I will pass the word to Fernando, as he has a few slides to present and to present himself as well. So Fernando, to you.
Hi guys, how are you? In Brazilian Knowledge Management Society, we help in organization, managing organizational knowledge, build methods, train and empower professional in organization, foster relationship, and facilitate informal learning. Some results, we have a professional certification in KM, Brazilian KM Congress, KM Education, networking, specialized services in KM, community of practice, and with my friend Eduardo Carrara, André Noronha, building the community of practice in knowledge management, innovation, maturity. In 2013, we have results. Reference model, knowledge management, KM practice repository, e-books, guides and knowledge assets focused in implementing in management, KM maturity model, lesson learned, good practice, Thais work is based, né, in community. Thais.
Yeah, so up to me as well. So as we know a bit of our work from the Brazilian Knowledge Management Society, a few of the companies, so we have both representatives, they are members of our association, they are professionals of KM, they're working with KM and their organizations, but also their companies can be members as well. We have a few of the members, they are participating on our also our community of praxis. So you can imagine we have a community of praxis that it's a community of praxis of knowledge managers. So it's great to have a great insight as well, being there for a few sessions with them. From the other part, so first of all, presenting what's our Knowledge Management Society, but also presenting to you guys what's my work and what we are bringing in here to share with you. So I was really glad to see our main speakers today that they were talking about intentional conversations, and this is great to hear because we need to talk more about it. What is the 80% of our tacit knowledge, how we are sharing, and what's the flow of knowledge in our companies. So the systemic collaboration is actually using the knowledge sharing flow to explain collaborations, and that's a great way we as KEMers can explain on our companies as well. How is it collaboration connected to knowledge management? So we reach a new level also of understanding of our C-level and of our leaders as well, because collaboration is something everyone must do. So it's not a nice to have, it's a must to have. Collaborating in between our teams, but also collaborating with other companies, with our vendors, and so on. Yeah? We have handouts, so I won't take much time presenting all the work and all the research, but I set it out on the handout for you of the presentation. What is the research all about? We are building a collaboration model, so it's a complex system that explains collaboration. We are not the first ones doing that, so we have also to look backwards and see the timeline of all the researchers that have been working on it before. For sure, it's not all of them, but at least is a timeline of my main references so I can share. So we're building here on top of other researchers' work as well as I do scientific work. I've been doing systematics review since 2019. I had to redo, and then you will see later on that I can share a bit with you about what our other authors doing it with it. But what my goal is in here is actually to share our point of view, or what my work is actually presenting when it comes to connecting collaboration and knowledge sharing, which are two complex concepts to explain, so we could navigate it on collaboration the whole session, and we can navigate also on collaboration and knowledge sharing way more. So what we're doing is that we are incentivizing here most for the companies to build their own intensive environments, collaborative intensive environments as well, both to boost the knowledge sharing, but also to boost collaboration. It means, for example, that we want the companies to share more what people know, and to share more what they learn from their experiences as well. And I just want to take 1 minute in here, because when we're thinking about sharing, sometimes we're thinking it as a passive thing. For example, someone is sharing and someone is receiving knowledge, like if it could be downloaded and transferred, and it's not the way it works. It is both sides, so it has to come back and forth. So sharing, it's actually exchanging, right? So as I'm passing through, or in a mentoring session, for example, I'm also learning in the process, right? So it goes both ways, and it's not as simple as it sounds as well. And the other end of it, it's co-creating. So we collaborate also to co-create. And when we mean co-creating, we also mean that we are exploring, we are learning as we're doing, and we are co-creating even more together. And then when we see in companies is that, for example, you don't decide if you want to manage your costs on your side, or if you want to create new revenues on the other side. That goes the same in here. You have to work on both. It's not one or the other, but it is both ways, right? So let's collaborate to share more, and let's collaborate as well to create even more. Does it make sense to everyone? Yeah. Moving forward. Can you hear me well? Is it fine? Yeah. Perfect. So as we're coming for the KM, what I wanted to bring to you is the main model, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible, so I will navigate it with you along the way. And we use a common language for our KMers. So SESI, it's our model from Nonaka Takeuchi that's representing the knowledge flow, right? And the knowledge flow also in cycles, which means that from the way it's sharing and how the knowledge flowing, it's moving through people to people and along our organizations, it is reverberating, right? So it's engaging even more people. So common ground for all of us, KMers, and what we're bringing as a collaboration on top of it is that we are building knowledge hubs on our companies, on our organizations as well. And for those knowledge hubs and for collaboration, we need to understand different layers. So I can collaborate, for an example, easy, simple, we're collaborating as individuals. I'm motivated to share with you, right? So I myself have my own reasons to engage in a collaboration on a knowledge sharing environment. But as a collective, I'm collaborating with my own team. So within my teams, teams are collaborating with themselves. So different areas collaborating and sharing as well. So out of the silos, but it's all is still within our organizational collaboration environment, right? We can use the different teams, different areas to collaborate with themselves, but we also could go beyond our frontiers, beyond the borders of our companies, and reach collaboration cross companies, inter-collaboration, inter-organizational here. So that's a new layer, and that's adding, if you can imagine of that, a bit more complexity to it as well. That's what we call also the systemic collaboration, that it's going to happen in all different layers, all different levels, but also it's happening that we are engaging more stakeholders, more value, adding more value even though for our collaboration systems, because we are now collaborating with all our value chain. So we are collaborating with our suppliers, we're collaborating with our clients, even though we're collaborating among everyone that's on our value chain as well to tackle maybe different challenges, right? Bit of a picture, is it only a responsibility for the knowledge management team to do so? Definitely not. I think it goes on for sure needing to learn more from the side of the cooperative learning. So we are not evaluating as a complex system of collaboration. Only companies, we are also evaluating it's possible to reach for schools, for group of works, group of researchers as well, international groups of researchers collaborating international on teams, for example. And we're also reaching what it is, the business strategy. So a bit of more a bottom-up strategy for our organizations as well. So what are the people in our different areas pointing out for us to build our business strategy in here? And we also want to build organizational intelligence. So we have 3 cases today. We had a 4th case that is actually on business intelligence side of it that we didn't bring today. But what they're also using is knowledge sharing for building their own marketing intelligence strategies, right? So what we saw just so far was a bit of how complex can be the collaboration environment so that we don't take it lightly, we don't take it easily, but there is a process to do so. It is not a linear process though, so I want to go through with you as well. So once we have a complex system, we cannot guarantee or we cannot control that all the inputs from our systems will become positive results for our companies and for our organizations, because as complex as it is, it engages different people, so it means we also depend on different characteristics for our environment. So if you think the inputs are all the data, all the possibilities, and we're navigating on big data world right now, right? So everything that's possible to have as input. The processing part of it, it's how we navigate the world of information and knowledge around our company. And we are wanting as outputs positive results, of course, but we also want as outputs building intelligence on all the systems. So it's a flow. If you know KPI, for example, we're wanting a flow from more data, more information, sharing more knowledge, and building more intelligence on our systems. I just told you, it is not a linear process, so it might seem slightly to think if we do more collaboration on or if we have better collaboration environments on our companies, we will have more knowledge sharing, and knowledge sharing will build a straightforward, more intelligence on our organizations. But that's not how it goes, right, guys? It's a both-way ending as well. We depend on people, and we depend on their engagements. It is a social network environment, so we're depending on how motivated people are to engage as well. And it goes both ways, right? So having more knowledge sharing in organizations also leads to a better collaboration environment, and it goes back and forth. So there are feedback loops in here, both positives and negatives, that can impact the environment, all right? So first of all, for us to evaluate collaboration, we need to know what do we need for collaboration conditions to be measured, right? So do we focus on the same question when we're collaborating with partners or with clients, for example? Do we have a common goal for that collaboration to happen so? Do we have interactive process along the way? And as I said, we want to incentivize intensive interactions, so more of interactive, intense process. Does the people that are collaborating along, do they have complementary visions? We want diversity in this environment because diversity brings more inputs for us as well. We want them to have autonomy as long as we want them to build actions, projects, results, right? So just intentionality also on how they produce results. They have projects together, they do actions together, and that's important. So that's a question we make as well. And do they have enough shared structure? Even if it is a shared point, for example, or a shared environment where they can share documents, can they share documents with each other? Because at sometimes we have companies, for example, that they have legal compliance rules that they can't share documents or information at all. So that's the case. And if they have other shared structures, can they work together in the same environment, and so on and so on. That goes into what we have as a conditions for the collaboration environment. On the other side of it, we also want to keep our collaborators or all the actors that are engaged motivated, right? So positive results can influence their motivation, so they see the results coming through and they want to do more collaboration also because of that, or keep engaged in the projects they're doing. But also we know their negative results or setbacks, even though, can take away from their motivations. So we are, along the process, we also know we have people coming in and we have people going out, and for different reasons, right? So what we pointed out is that when we go through motivation, are they engaged or not engaged? There are endogenous factors. So each person have their own reasons. So I tell you myself, there are different reasons where I feel motivated or demotivated to collaborate as well. So we have to keep in mind that there are people, there are specific individuals, and there are different conditions in which they will feel motivated or not. And when we think about it, now we're coming into an age that we can boost this process. So we bring enabler technologies along so that you guys can see that enabler technologies will move how we share. They will impact volume, so we can process more data, more information, even on the age of AI. That doesn't mean more meaningful collaboration, not straightforward. How complex it is. So if you say, if I'm at our organizations, if we're adopting, for example, AI, does that mean straight ahead, I'm building more intelligence for our systems? Not for sure, right? So it depends on how we're using it. So any kinds of technologies, we take them as enablers, right? So they are enablers for the whole process, and we use them as enablers for boosting interaction on our environment, but also for boosting the knowledge sharing. Perfect? Big picture in here. So I took my time also to navigate with you both, because I've been seeing this for 3 years, so for me it sounds so light and so easy, but I can imagine for you it's a lot of information at once, right? Let's make it even harder, but that's not the case. We made it an assessment, so that all of that we actually built into a forms, so people can actually, or knowledge managers especially, and we have knowledge managers that try, so we had a pilot with the companies as well. We have questions that they could answer alone, and we could evaluate how are they, what their maturity level in terms of collaboration and knowledge sharing on their organizations as well. So we used these 5 main goals for evaluating them, and we had different questions along the way. When we're looking at the people side of engagement, how do they engage people? How do they keep them engaged? The other question is, if someone is dropping out of the process, how do we connect with them? And that's kind of questions that goes into engagement. We want to know how is their collaboration environment, so we had different conditions. Are they collaborating along also external parties, for example? And that plays a big deal, otherwise you're reaching all the knowledge inside your borders. If you collaborate with external as well, or if you bring information from outside in, you're reaching a new level of collaboration as well. And it goes on the collaboration environment. Do they have process for knowledge sharings? Is their process institutionalized? Like, do they follow cycles of knowledge process as well? And which is important, do they have end-to-end planning of those processes? That's something that goes also into governance. What are the enabler technologies they are using? And that's important for us to evaluate. And at the end of it, what are the results? What are the impacts they are building? And it's really important. We have built all the 3 cases to share with you. You have the complete report on those cases, and each of the companies, for example, they are presenting to us both results and impacts on their people. So how are the collaboration impacting motivation and so on? I think there's different impacts we can see from people's side, so intangibles as well, but what are the impacts that they're having for the business? So we just heard as, hey, how KM is actually putting out there the value it generates for the business as well. So we have as well, when we're evaluating collaboration and when we're evaluating knowledge sharing, we have to put out there what's the impact for the business as well, right? Let's go, I'll move on to the cases, and what I have to tackle along with you. We have 3 companies. Few of our companies are here represented, so Embraer is here with Webster and Larissa as well. So we will invite you to get to know the Brazilian companies as well and get to know those cases from them, like to hear their stories afterwards in a network. But what we're doing in here is, for me as a researcher, I had to consolidate all the information we learned from them as well, and I'm trying to facilitate for you guys a bit of what we captured and a bit of what are the synergies they have and what are the complementary or what did they study cases showed us of specific information we wanted to share with you as well. A big picture for you, just to check it out, what are the 3 companies we have. So we have Petrobras, Industry, Gas and Oil Engineering. We have Embraer, Carlos is their representative, Embraer Aerospace Industry, and we have them here represented by Webster as well. And a big picture of that, we have Braskem, so the 3 companies, Petrochemical Industry, represented by Rafael. He's not in person in here, but it was nice I could get his insights to share with you both 3 cases. What is the common things around them? We have actually from the 3 managers, KM managers, they brought along their teams. So all the inputs, they are not solo from what the KM managers or their head of knowledge management is saying, but it is along the overview of their teams as well. So I think this is a nice input to bring for you. And what's different from the 3 of them? So from our point of view as well, we asked them how KM is delivering value for their businesses and their 3 points of view. We have, when we think of Petrobras, they're looking on projects. So they assess the cycles of each project, what they're learning from an engineering project to the next engineering project. And also what's happening with them is that they are connecting their leaders. So they're having project leaders on each site, and they want to connect all the project leaders from all their sites. So that's the goal in here on connecting their knowledge as well. When we think of Embraer, they are looking for engineering, tech development, and product development. So you will expect that their cycles, they're also going around. What's critical for the project developments? What's critical when we're looking for the tech radar and the new technology that's coming around? So I have to monitor what is critical in terms of knowledge for the tech development as well. And they want to accelerate new capabilities. They want to accelerate the capabilities for this technology building on the coming years as well. So when they're looking at their people, how can we accelerate new capabilities? When we're looking at Braskem, they have a bigger team, knowledge management team. They are a global area, and they also doing cycles of assessments. They are what they call themselves like internal consultants. They are the go-to area in which the different areas are coming to ask them for assessments, for tools, for whatever they need to build a better knowledge management system. So 3 different companies, but 3 different scenarios to be a bit along with you. I will share with you a few of the results, but that's also as kind of provocation for you to check more of their cases as well, because we set it up full cases as as handouts as well. But what we did is that we organized all the results, especially on what are the common grounds, and we used the lenses of people, process, and technology to go around. We added on top of that, what are their governances, what are they doing that we should be looking after it, all right? For people, we have a few main goals, what they're doing, and we also add like the synergies and things they're doing themselves, and what are they doing that's outstanding, and I'll go on both of them, right? So if we think about what they're doing all together, they have people that are engagers, so knowledge management is taking a role specific in the team of the articulators, the connectors of their companies, and they also sometimes becoming, the leaders are also becoming the articulators in a way that they are collaborating cross teams, cross company with services and suppliers, and that's management role, right? The leader. When we talked about people, how do they engage in different collaboration knowledge management assessments, they are mentioning to us, they do mentoring, they have the articles, authors also engaging in producing more articles, and they have their technical leaders specifically sharing what they know or the technical knowledge as well. And we saw some of them building what they call the map capabilities. So they're mapping all the competencies, specifically critical competencies for their knowledge. We heard here at KM also word that it's often that people and knowledge managers are building personas or archetypes for how people collaborate and how people share or consume knowledge around our organizations. And it's describing the behavior of our users. It's help us getting insight. And it goes all along on people. What's outstanding that we're seeing their doings and that we wanted to share with you guys, they're currently investigating how to personalize the learning journey, the learning process of our employees and everyone that's engaged, and they also engaging with external parties. So when we think about collaboration, immediately we think of teamwork, right? But if you think about external collaboration, it goes on to a new level. So they also have technical cooperation process in place so that they can sign technical cooperations with different companies, and for that, they can tackle different and more complex challenges from the whole industry, for example, right? Outstanding from that point of view. Good, I'll move on along to process as well, and we're thinking that as knowledge sharing is a process, we saw with BA and the Bureau of Knowledge of CESI, for example, that is a constant cycle, right? So one cycle after the other as well. So we need to plan end to end. We are planning here from preparation, reviews, and we also running as a continuous project, a continual process as well when we think of collaboration. They also tackle and they are checking their workflows, validating what's the lessons learned impact. Are our lessons learned up to date? Are they being used? And it's also an information what's the impact our knowledge, our lessons learned are making. If we think of lessons learned in a common way, you can go into the metrics of how many lessons learned I do, how many did I took it off or put it off of our databases because they're not up to date or they're not valid anymore. But actually what we want to measure is what are the results those lessons learned are making, what are their impacts on the people, the users, so we want to hear from their users, but also for our business, so taking it to another level, as we say. And we also see the knowledge management team acting as a curator, because we have all the databases, but what are the best databases that our teams are requesting that they need access, or someone or more than one area is asking for the same database access, for example. So that's important, we can share it around. So they're also, in a way, centralizing and managing also all the access of external information. It's important. What are they doing that's outstanding, that it's nice for us to point it out for you guys as well in terms of processes? So they have mapped the critical mapping, they are connecting the mapping of the critical knowledge also with the process mapping. So every time I have to define or review a new process, I will connect it with for that process, what are the necessary knowledge or the critical knowledge for the process as well, and they make it as a mandatory step. So it's a way decentralizing. And every leader, it's responsible every time they're changing a process, building or proposing a new process, to map their critical knowledges as well. And we heard also from them to build their own KM assessment or the OKM framework, and that reaches a new level of maturity as well, because with their assessments, they can follow up how is it the evolution of each area. So it's important for us to take in mind that they can see the evolution and they can personalize also that track of evolution for each and every area they are actually supporting, right? In terms of technology, and that's a bit of a shock, I like shocking everyone, because I like to bring social technology along as well. Because if you think so, intentional conversations, as we heard this morning, are social technologies, are a framework for us to build better conversations and better connections. So once we're talking about collaboration and we're talking about knowledge sharing, it's also all about trust. It's also a mutual trust in how we connect with each other. So social technologies that are used, and they are mentioned here for the cases, are intensive use of workshops, lots of in-person workshops that were mentioned as well, but they have rituals and they have process. Every time I end a cycle, I end a project, we gather together, and these rituals and these cycles build better connections for the coming projects. They build better learning and sharing process of their knowledge for their coming projects as well, and that's reverberating the impact, right? So that's important as rituals as well. They have integrated searching engine, which means, for example, they are also using ChatGPT for now on. I think it's, for now, a common ground where we're seeing them all heading, and we heard of them to have knowledge hubs. They're building their own knowledge hubs so that the people can connect from one spot. They can connect all their knowledge, so they're not having one website or a repository for their lessons learned, another one for all the communications around communities. The Knowledge Hub is the place to go, so the hotspot to go when we need any information. It goes also for the integrated engine, but it's also going on everything we need to know from the databases, so on, connected in a hub platform, right? What's outstanding to know about technology as well, and I wanted to share it with you, both that they're developing like specific programs for collecting the knowledge from their senior experts. We're hearing on the side of retention, that we worry about the necessity of retention of their knowledge, but they're doing it in a different way. They are taking the senior experts, and they're putting them out as a showcase, also in a way that they are promoting their skills, they're promoting their knowledge, and they're recognizing them in a social platform. And that goes both ways. So that goes on recognition for their skills and their value for the business, but also goes that they can connect people to people. So you know who to go to. It's like an expert, so you know who to go. You can reach out to them from a social platform, for example. That's way different. It's a direct channel. We also heard before that sometimes we are from 3 to 5 people away from someone from our company, and we want to promote direct connections, easy ways for them to connect with each other as well. That's a nice way we heard from them. And they have two mappings. They're mapping their networks. So it goes also a bit more on people analytics side. So you can map the network. You can see the different people that are nodes. You can see the different people that are gatekeepers. You know the social net. So you know the people that are connectors in our systems as well. You can promote them in a way, right? So this is a different technology also being used to promote this network view. So it could be knowledge graphs, but here they're doing with networking mapping, yeah? Outstanding in this case. And we pointed out a few points of governance as well, because we think it's important for you guys to know how to manage all of that. If it is that complex, how can we manage it? So there is, you've seen for the 3 companies we're bringing along, they have dedicated teams for knowledge management. I know it's not the same reality for everyone. Sometimes we have a professional or someone that's part-time dealing with KM, but they have dedicated teams, they have the necessary structure for running KM, as an example, globally. And here, their areas of knowledge management are also bringing new capabilities. So they are bringing capabilities of data scientists. They are connecting different areas like IT or business intelligence, and they are connecting process managers in their role of management, of KM management as well. We're tracking about results and what are the impacts for the businesses, so it's so important that you guys know how do we measure and how do we monitor. So they have been building metrics for performance. They put up together also dashboards for those metrics. So I'm not reporting at the end of it, but I'm monitoring along the way. And I'm not only monitoring with the leaders. There are dashboards that are available for the whole company to reach out, so they see how is it that the measures, like the KM measures, are impacting the business, or how are they there for everyone to reach out as well. So it is not a high-level dashboard, for example, that's only shared with boards. They are available for every leader. They are available for their teams as well. I think that's it. It's also important to mention. And what's outstanding here to share with you about governance is how they track results as well. So they are tracking results that impact their business now, but they're also helping to build the business of the future. So that's the other way. When we're thinking about technology mapping and a roadmap and what we have to build from capabilities and competencies right now to reach their futures, KM is also playing a role in here in building the future of the business, in building better skilled professionals for their future jobs as well. This is outstanding because that means KM has a relevance for the not only for the business of today, retaining knowledge, but also for the business of tomorrow. So we just saw the knowledge management, exploit and explore. So that goes into, we have to explore the future, and for that on, we have to start building the competencies right now. So outstanding in terms of governance here as well to share with you. So just as we go.
Yeah, you have 1 minute.
Good on time. I'll just share final connections and conclusions with you, going over all of that, what to take away from our presentations of today, both when we investigated collaboration and what are the role of knowledge sharing in those environments, collaboration environments. We're trying to understand from each company what are the triggers and the challenges that they need knowledge sharing to solve. So that's the big question in here. And we also, on the other end, are asking them, what are the results in here? What are the results you're achieving for people and for the business as well? In the knowledge sharing process part, we are observing that most of the companies, they're trying to retain knowledge, so they're worried about what they will miss. So it's more of a proactive way of retaining, but they should be more proactive also on the other side of creating, right? So a few of the companies, they reached the maturity into searching for recognition and creation and knowledge sharing with other parts as well. So I think that goes into tackling really big challenges, and they need more collaboration, more knowledge sharing for that in those cases of situations. We go on both collaboration and knowledge sharing. They are a few processes that were mentioned along the way, because what is tangible about collaboration and knowledge sharing is the initiatives they do. So having community of practice, having lessons learned share, having more intensive interactions along our teams or across our teams. So a few of the activities that were mentioned, I just brought it to you. So mentoring, workshops, project review meetings, and so on. And on terms of governance, what should we take out from it as well is that KM teams, they have the role of connectors, they have the role of articulators, of collaboration, knowledge sharing along, and you can also decentralize that role. That's also important, so don't take it all on your team. You can decentralize to leaders as well. On the management side of knowledge management, we have to show results. We have to show the impact. So it's really important to bring along, especially to leaders, what are the results you can put out there. So the BI2s, the dashboards, the mapping, and everything like that will help you gain support, right? Help you gain buy-in from leaders as well. And having KM metrics in place, it's so important as well. So I would say it's share the results, share also feedbacks from your users and positive feedbacks from your users to incentivize that others would also engage and take part of it. That's all from my side. Almost on time. Left 2 minutes, but I'll also invite you all, because in name of our 3 Brazilian companies, the showcases we're bringing, we're hosting also, if you guys are up for a network connection. So at lunchtime, grab your lunch box. You can join us. We will be there. And I also want to thank everyone for today. Yeah? So happy to take questions.
Yeah, oh, we do have a question.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Yeah, I think the important side of metrics is that you don't have metrics only for engagement. How many people are we engaging? How many people are dropping off? But you also should have metrics of results, and it can go on different ways. It can go for people. They can point it out. Even showcases like stories telling, it's really important for them to have. But the only thing is to balance a bit the metrics you have from engagement side, but also from impact. And the metrics for impact should go on numbers, like quantity measures, but it should also go on quality, right? So if you have only code data to show, let's say you're bringing a network mapping to your leaders and you're discussing, oh, we have lots of connectors on our team, so we should do something about connectors. You should bring the story about connecting, so warm data to convince what to do. So also the good metric to share with you, it's when companies are using the personas. How many people are actually proactive sharers? How many people are actually leaders that are more engaged because they're making the time to be engaged. So I think my only advice in here is to balance metrics of engagement and metrics of results, and make sure if you're bringing data along, it's not cold data, it's warm data with all the information necessary. So both personas is nice, and how are they engaged, who they are. can go along.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so
That
very
was
much.
great, and I also want to thank
both-
Fernando if he's still there.
To Tyson and Fernando, we very much
Yeah,
appreciate your
appreciate it.
sharing your best practices and your strategies with us today.
Nice.
Thank you for joining
Lovely,
us.
thanks.
I just want to let you all know that the next session in this room in Track A will start in 15 minutes at 11:45. It's Tech Approaches for KM. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll hope to see you all again soon.